Am I the a-hole for divorcing my wife because I'm attracted to her daughter? I really wish I was in any situation but this one. I, a 55 male, have been married just 1.5 years to my wife, 54 female, but we dated for 8 years prior to tying the knot, living together for 4 of those years. She has a 24-year-old daughter, Zora, who works nearby and is choosing to live in our rental with us and not deal with San Francisco rental market on a part-time receptionist income. I have nothing against her daughter making that decision, and I even told her that was a smart financial decision. However, when I signed up for this living arrangement, I never anticipated that my agreement would come back to haunt me. So let's tear off the bandage. Zora is beautiful. I could say a lot of great things about other aspects of her, but the issue at hand is that I am disturbed at the many thoughts I have of Zora. I was not attracted to her when I first met her. Since her mom and I moved in 3 months after she went to college, I did not see that much of her to have this to be a problem. But since she's been living with us full time, the thoughts have festered. I have tried to get help. The first therapist I talked to gave off the impression she was trying to hide her disgust, and by session 3, there were long, uncomfortable silences. I stopped going. The second therapist referred me to another office. The office made it hard to get an appointment, but apparently it wasn't just an issue for me, so I grappled with my feelings, which was there before our marriage and got worse after the wedding. My wife didn't understand why I was so cold. I was so desperate, I went to our pastor for guidance. His suggestions were for me to find Zora her own place and pay for it. I had been tempted to do that. He even said to get her to wear modest clothing, but Zora could wear a potato sack and it wouldn't make a difference. I lived every day in guilt. Zora sees me unpolite, but distant, and it hurts me to hurt her. It also began affecting my job, which was going to pay for our new house and everything else. I tried confessing in internet forums, but they were counterproductive, with people trying to justify my feelings for their own benefit. I finally had enough and sought a lawyer. I told my wife I wanted a divorce last week and told her why. She burst into tears. I never wanted to hurt her, especially since her last husband cheated. She asked if I had those thoughts before the wedding, and I said yes. I told her I was moving out, and she said that was for the best, but that she wanted to have some sort of closure and begged me to seek therapy with her. I said I tried, but to no great effect. She was then too hysterical to say anything, but agreed Zora could never find out. Now I want to move forward and file, but my wife tried calling me, but I don't want to answer. I'm so tired, and I know from her perspective I'm just abandoning her, but I feel I've done enough damage. I'll miss her and Zora, and with Zora, I do not mean in a sexual way. She is a great person I've gotten to know. Am I the a-hole? I don't know what's with all these stories with men being in love with their stepdaughters, but it's just getting out of hand. I just feel like I always thought, I don't know if it's just maybe my innocence or my ignorance, but I always thought whether you're a man or woman, if you get married to somebody, no matter how old their child is, that you will just see them as also your child because you're with their parent. Why would you be attracted to your stepchild when you're literally in a romantic relationship with their parent? But I'm glad he, removed himself from that situation. And also the mom, it's one thing to feel sad and to feel shocked. Why is she trying to work things out? If anything, she should feel disgusted and try to move the divorce along. I don't get it. Am I the a-hole for refusing to meet my husband's daughter or take my son to meet her? My husband got our former friend pregnant while we were separated, so now he has a 7-month-old daughter. He doesn't plan to be involved in her life, but he's currently working with a lawyer to establish paternity because I'm forcing him to do it. The girl's mother has asked me if I wanted to meet her and introduce our 3-year-old son to his little sister, but I've said no. My husband's family on his mother's side have been very accepting of the baby and her mother, so they've been pressuring me to meet her since she's technically my stepdaughter, and they think I need to be willing to help foster a relationship between her and my son, as we all know my husband isn't going to do it. I was upset, so I told them my son would never have a relationship with her and I wouldn't ever meet her because they kept pressuring me to. Now everybody thinks I'm an awful B-word who hates a baby when I don't. It also doesn't help that my husband has cut off financial help to the side of his family because they made me cry, which has only made them hate me more. We had a great relationship before all of this, so I feel crap, and I'm wondering if I am the a-hole. The fact that she's comfortable with her husband ditching and not being a father to the baby that he willingly conceived is crazy. Because if she can convince a grown man to leave his child and not talk to his child and not take care of his own flesh and blood, then what will another woman do when they're no longer together? And from this whole situation, I don't think they're going to be together for that long, because it doesn't even sound like they're standing on much of a foot to begin with. Is that how you say it? Much of a foot? Like, what the hell? Oh, abandon your baby because I'm feeling some type of way because you had it with a former friend while we were separated. Did she hear herself? I feel my BA was taking advantage of my kindness. I confronted him. Am I the a-hole? My boyfriend, 33 male, and I, 38 female, have been dating since summer 2021, and since then he has stayed at my apartment every day and every night. He owns his own home less than a mile away, which he said he purchased for his 3 roommates who were looking for a place to live. He only charges them $300 or so a month. Out of the goodness of his heart, I have only been there twice for house parties, which I essentially invited myself to when we were getting to know each other. I never have asked him for money, not for rent, not for utilities, not for the grocery I always have to buy. He never goes shopping for any food or household supplies. 2 separate instances, I asked if he could get toilet paper. Once he bought a chintzy 4-pack at the gas station he was already stopping at, which I'm assuming is just to tie us over until I get more realistic packages. And the second time, he brought in a big garbage bag of almost empty rolls from his bathroom at work, which they save. He doesn't cook and said in the past it's not important to him, or he doesn't think of it, yet will certainly eat the food I buy and make. For the most part, I was more than happy to provide, but at times goes on, I feel like I'm carrying the mental load of living together. My apartment is in disarray. I can never get it under control with only me doing any work. I have mentioned this part above to him over the last year, and sometimes it will result in him sheepishly doing one sink full of dishes and leaving the rest for me, or would tell him he has to figure out dinner for us for one night out of the 7 because I'm working late. That means he's door dashing us something at 8 p.m. It's things like that make me start to resent him and kill my attraction. It hurts my feelings. For such a nice guy, how can he be so thoughtless? It feels thoughtless to me anyway. I told him tonight I feel it would be best if we return to our old living situation. Him at his house and me alone here. I expressed I can't or won't handle all the responsibility of our lives co-inhabiting. I also said it really hurt my feelings that for Christmas he got me Daughterinlaw, which he waited to give to me on Christmas. Meanwhile, the sink has been backing up for a month, and instead of ladles. He didn't say anything. He just sat there and stared at me. I asked if he had anything to say. Any feelings about it? He said he didn't know what to say. I felt insulted. Update. So since this, he was still in my living room for a few hours. I've been in bed with COVID, and laying there I got miffed. I walked back and asked twice more. You have nothing to say? No words? No, I'm so sorry you feel that way. What can I do? Nothing. No best, no emotion. I can't believe it. That was supposed to be my best friend. I told him we're breaking up and he needs to go home now. I'm honestly really surprised and hurt by his lack of reaction. I should have known. I don't know why OP feels the need to come on Reddit text as if she's being used, because clearly it's clear as day that she's being used and he doesn't care about her. I don't understand how he's your best friend when you literally listed all of these horrible things he does, and how he doesn't care about your feelings or your emotions. Like, how is that a best friend? I feel like she's just making him up in her head to be this great guy, but in reality he's terrible. I don't know. I hope she gets rid of him, because who the hell wants to take care of a grown man? Am I the a-hole for telling my wife if she converts to Islam, I'm divorcing her? Been married for 4 years and together for 7. Love my wife with all my heart. We started dating back in high school and have been inseparable since. Back when we first started dating, she was a Christian. I am an atheist and not super thrilled about religion in general. Well, she ended up falling out of Christianity after a couple years of dating and has gone with the agnostic label since. The last handful of months, though she seemed to be interested in Islam, she'd watch YouTube videos about it, and I noticed she had a Quran app on her phone. I asked her what's going on, and she says she's been feeling a call to be Muslim. I asked her how and why, and she says she saw some videos of a street preacher, and it made her look into it, and now it says it connects her more than Christianity did. She's the type who goes through a lot of phases, though, so I assumed it was just a phase and short-term interest. Well, the other day, she came up to me and said she wanted to get a prayer mat and wanted to try wearing a hijab. We live right outside Dearborn, Michigan, which is one of the largest hubs of Muslims outside the Middle East. She asked if I'd want to go with her to pick them up or if I'll be okay with these things. I told her that I'm not comfortable with it and I would probably want to separate if she started wearing a hijab, especially. She got pretty upset. I said that and asked why, and I told her I'm not interested in being with someone who is religious, especially not someone who is visibly religious to the point they won't show their hair. She said she understands why I may not like it, but threatening to divorce over it means I don't love her. I do love her, but I'm not going to become part of the Muslim community or to be with a woman who wears a hijab or someone who would have to start eating halal and stop and pray multiple times a day. Christianity was okay because she wasn't overly religious and was already weighing it by the time we started dating. She says she doesn't know what she wants to pursue, but is really upset that I'd leave her if she chose to fully convert to Islam. Am I the a-hole for calling child services on my cousin's wife? I, 49 male, have a cousin, 34 male, whom I am somewhat close to, mostly for convenient reasons, as I live just a 20-minute walk away. He's unfortunately not the brightest light in the Christmas tree, but he means well and hardly ever loses his temper. He has a wife, 32 female, who is the complete opposite of him. I'm not sure why, but they get along enough to get married. I sound judgy, but you'll soon see where I am going with this. The wife gave birth to a baby boy about a month or so ago. No one was allowed to meet the baby except very few people to prevent the spread of germs, which is understandable. Then I get a call from my cousin asking me if I can buy some groceries and maybe takeout. He gave me a list. He said his credit card is maxed out and will pay me later. But I said, don't worry about it. I got all the things he asked me and put it in one of those little shopping carts, things I use when I go to the fruit market. Then I headed to my cousin's. His wife looked incredibly stressed out, but thanked me for bringing food. I placed the food in the pantry and fridge. She said I can just shove it anywhere, and she wanted to eat the takeout food right away. Then her son spat up where she looked like she wanted to scream. She put the baby on the change table and began to strip him out of his clothes, and he was crying. So I tried to distract the baby to make him laugh while his mom was focused on changing him. It didn't do anything. He kept crying. Then I noticed something horrifying. The poor baby had bruises everywhere and in weird places, but it really shook me. He had blue bruises on his shoulders, back, and even his feet. I was shocked, and I mentioned it to the wife, where she just said, it's birthmarks. No, I don't think so. They were bruises, but I just asked if the baby maybe fell or something before. But she just snapped and said, they're birthmarks, and I'm tired and starving and done talking. She placed the crying baby upstairs, came down with the baby monitor screen, and ate the takeout food without another word. The baby was crying, but she did nothing and just ate. By then, I was just scared because she looked pissed and ready to throw something. So I just said goodbye and mentioned my cousin about the bruises. He said they're birthmarks. I asked him if that's what his wife said, and he said yes. I was really worried about the baby. The wife seemed very stressed and unhappy. I didn't directly witness her being aggressive to the baby, but maybe because I was there. But bruises are enough proof that something is going on. So I called the child services and explained the situation. Am I the a-hole for calling child services? And yes, I already called them and left information, but they don't tell what they are going to do or how severe the situation they think it is. At least it sounds like it's not call 911 sort of situation. OP is definitely not the a-hole. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the times when new mothers were going through postpartum, sometimes things can be very, very difficult. But I understand that. But on the other hand, I also understand wanting a small innocent child that just came into the world safety. I feel like the cousin, if he's not that bright and his wife's a little bit going through it, they need maybe like a third person to help them with the baby, maybe to help the mother, maybe a grandma or an aunt to come and help the mom and give her some time to take a break or to relax, because this sounds very, very sad. A newborn baby with bruises all over his body. That sounds very, very sad. Would I be the a-hole if I told my best friend that I don't want her boyfriend to come to my birthday gathering? My 23 female birthday is next month. I really want to meet up with my friends to celebrate, including my best friend Liz, 23 female, We've known each other since second grade and I love her a lot. However, I'm scared she's going to bring her boyfriend, Tim, 36 male, who I really can't stand. Some background: Liz and Tim got together when she was 18 and he was 31. They met at work. When Liz was working at Five Guys and Tim was her manager, at the time I was also 18 and extremely naive, so while I thought the age gap was a bit strange, I trusted her judgment. I never met him personally until the beginning of 2022, since Liz is a very private person. Though she did mention he said I love you a couple months after they got together, and that they started being intimate after that. I thought he was loud and obnoxious, and I resolved not to see him again. This worked until the beginning of 2023, when Liz told me they broke up. Through her sadness, Liz revealed that during their relationship, Ted had made sexist comments. Women have it a lot easier than men these days. Doubted her bisexuality. How can you be attracted to women if you have me? Started smoking and done a lot of drugs. But those weren't the breaking point. Apparently, Liz's friend had sent her proof that Tim had been cheating on her for over 6 months, and that was the act that finally got her to leave. This left me very disgusted at Tim and glad that Liz had gotten away. For about 6 months, all was fine, until one day I was staying at her place and she suddenly said Tim was dropping by. I was shocked and asked her why. All she said was that they were still friends. That entire evening, he was very touchy with her, i.e., hugging her constantly, snuggling with her on the sofa, and getting her to sit on his lap. This left me very uncomfortable and worried for her, but she maintained they were broken up. They ended up getting back together by the end of the month, with Liz claiming Tim gave proof that he never cheated on her at all. I've got no idea how he managed it. Skip to a month ago, I'd organized a dinner with my friends, but when I was only 10 minutes away, Liz told us she didn't ask and I never invited him, that Tim would be joining us. For me, the evening was instantly ruined. We should have been catching up, but suddenly the evening was about Tim's unfunny jokes, loud interruptions, and explicit jokes about him and Liz's intimate life. He even asked everyone for their ages, and upon discovering 2 of us were younger than Liz, joked, I don't feel so bad about dating you anymore. Now my birthday is coming up, and I want to invite everyone out for dinner, including Liz. However, I really don't want to risk him appearing again with no warning. I want to tell Liz I don't want him there, but it feels like an a-hole thing to do. She lives alone and doesn't have a relationship with her family, so Tim is practically the only person she has. Would I be the a-hole if I asked her not to let him show up? Absolutely not. OP is definitely not the a-hole. And I don't care what anybody says, to be honest, but what in God's green earth does a grown 31-year-old man or woman have in common with the 18-year-old teenage girl or boy? And people are always trying to argue this argument down, and they're always saying, well, if technically 18 is legal, the age of consent in some states is 16. So the only thing that's stopping you from dating and going lower is the government. And the thing is, like, if somebody was 17 tonight and their birthday's tomorrow and they turn 18, yeah, technically in the government's eyes they're 18. But at the end of the day, you don't change in a night. You don't suddenly change your behaviors, your attitude, your opinion, your mentality once your age changes. That's not how that works. Like, I don't understand why people would justify dating anybody that's that young when they're that old. Like, 31-year-old is grown. Like, I'm 23 years old, and compared to 18-year-old, like, I have a lot of 18-year-old coworkers and 17-year-old coworkers. When I'm talking to them, I can just tell I'm talking to a young teenage person, and I'm only 23 years old. So imagine a 31-year-old, a 35-year-old, a 40-something-year-old. God forbid they're in their 50s. Like, what do these people have in common with these young people? Just the only thing that they have to justify is, well, it's legal. At the end of the day, the age of consent is just that, the age of consent. But if the age of consent was lower than that, would you be going lower? Like, some of y'all have no morality at all. And I don't think OP is in the wrong. If she doesn't want some disgusting loser around her, then she has every right not to want that man around her. But I also would say, like, clearly your friend is obviously impressionable. She's young and she's naive, and she's being blindsided by this man who's way older than her. Obviously, there's a reason why he targeted her to begin with. 31-year-old and an 18-year-old. You can already see where that's going. So I feel like you should be there for your friend OP. Just stick it out a little bit longer and be there for your friends, especially since you mentioned that she has nobody but that man. You don't want to leave her and isolate her to be with that man even farther than she already is with him. But anyways, that's all I have to say. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below and let me know what you think of these stories. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye. Am I wrong for telling my dad the real reason my half-sister won't be in the same room with me? I, 31 female, have a half-sister, Ellen, 34 female. Same dad, different moms. No, I'm not the result of an affair. Ellen and I are not close and never have been. We only saw each other at family get-togethers. Ellen has a husband, Tom, 34. Tom is a nice guy, and when she introduced him to the family, he and my husband hit it off, and my husband ended up hiring Tom to work for him. Tom and Ellen got married and had a baby, and during this time, they started having problems. I didn't hear this from Ellen, but from my dad, and from my husband, who was told by Tom. Tom then started staying really late at work, then progressed to coming over to our house often for drinks with my husband, and by extension, me. He became a regular visitor to our house and began unloading his problems. This went on for about 8 months until one evening, Tom was quite tipsy and admitted he developed a crush on me. Understandably, this meant he didn't come back to our house. He profusely apologized for this, and we're fine now, but obviously I just prefer some distance. I guess that whole thing was a wake-up call for him because he and Ellen started going to counseling. During the counseling, he told her about what had happened because Ellen called me and screamed at me for the whole situation. She said she and Tom would never be in the same room with me ever again after what I've done. She made excuses for not coming to family gatherings I was at for a while before my dad confronted her, and she said she and I had fallen out and we weren't speaking. I went along with this because I didn't want to tell my dad the truth either. It has been over a year of this. But this all came to a head over my dad inviting both of us and our families to New Year's Eve and getting mad that Ellen wouldn't come if I was going. He started ranting at me that we needed to grow up and make peace, and if we didn't want to talk to each other, fine. But not being able to be in the same room was nuts. I got sick of being berated and said I agree, but it wasn't me who started it. My dad then demanded to know what the fight was about and wouldn't let up. Eventually, I just told him. He's furious. He called Ellen and yelled at her. He called my husband and yelled at him. He's seething that no one told him and that he has been acting like things are fine with Tom this whole time. Ellen is furious with me for telling Dad, saying I did this on purpose and have ruined things with Tom after she'd worked so hard to fix them. I feel bad for the results, but I also feel like carrying the burden of this rift that I didn't cause was unfair on me in the first place. I kept quiet when I didn't have to, but once I was getting heat over it, it just became too much. Am I wrong for spilling? I don't think OP is wrong in the slightest because all she did was simply exist and simply be in that man's presence for him to act inappropriate and to say that because what do they say? Drunk words are super thoughts or something like that. Like basically, like when somebody's drunk, the things that they say is usually what they think when they're sober. But yeah, like if my husband told me that he was in love with my sister, I wouldn't call my sister and yell at her. But then again, it's understandable that she's obviously projecting her insecurities and her marital and whole relationship at home issues onto everybody but the man that's causing the issues, because I feel like as humans it's always easier to project onto other people than to actually look at the issue that is in front of us. In this case, OP's sister, the issue that she needs to address is her man with the wandering eye and inappropriate comments. Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my brother-in-law's wedding because he's too fat? I, 27 female, refused to go to my brother-in-law, 31 male, wedding because of an argument that happened 2 months before my wedding. My wedding was the moment. I had everything planned and it was everything I had dreamed of. Well, almost. My brother-in-law is a massive jerk, typical Chad type. He thinks he's famous and is unbelievably arrogant and unnecessarily mean. So when it came to my wedding, he was a bull who saw red. He texted my husband and begged him not to marry me because I was fat and unhinged. I am size 12 women and 5'6". I am by no means fat. We still decided to allow him to come as he was family and I didn't want to make a bad impression on my in-laws. But on the day of the wedding, he ruined my husband's day with a last-minute message saying he refused to attend. His reason was that I was a food-eating hurricane that was more horizontally challenged than Saturn to the point that the rings didn't fit. Now, this didn't ruin my day, as the thought that must have been behind this insult actually makes it hilarious. In my head, I can imagine him writing ideas on a paper and scrunching the bad insults up, but it ruined my husband's day, which gave the wedding an off vibe. But now he's getting married, and in that time he has ironically got a beast. He's only just a beast, but still canonically defined as a beast. So I refuse to attend his wedding because he's too fat for me to attend. He told my in-laws, and now my in-laws are blowing up my husband's phone, telling him that I have to attend because I am being petty and holding a grudge, and that if I don't attend, then they will go no contact with us both. My husband is upset about this, and he asked me to go for his sake because it has been 2 years and I should have moved on. Am I the a-hole? No, she's definitely not the a-hole. This is a case of treat people how you want to be treated. Because if she was too fat for your brother to marry her, and if she was too fat for you to go to her wedding, then you're too fat, bro. Maybe lose some weight. Maybe big that back, and maybe she'll come to your wedding. Am I wrong for telling my daughter if she keeps her pregnancy, I'm kicking her out? I live alone with my 20-year-old daughter. My wife, her mother died back in 2021, and I've been really struggling staying on top of the bills and barely have been able to keep us afloat. My daughter can't hold down a job. She quits or is let go from every job she lands, so I'm financially supporting her. She's my daughter, so I don't have the heart to kick her out of my home, but still having to take care of her financially has been a big burden on me. For Christmas, neither of us really had any money, so we did really small gifts this year. One of the gifts she got me was a pregnancy test that indicated she was pregnant. I started panicking. The thought of having to financially support another person while also guaranteeing my daughter won't be able to get a job got me sick to my stomach. Also, the fact that she thought I'd be excited by the news tipped me off to the fact that she was planning on keeping it. When I asked questions, she told me she isn't positive about who the father is and was going to keep it. I've explained to her if she keeps the baby, I'm going to have to kick her out of the house. She started arguing with me that I couldn't do that, but I was very firm in that if the baby stays with her, she can now live in this house. She isn't ready to be a parent whatsoever, and I will not be able to support them. She accused me of forcing her to get an abortion, which I denied. She can keep the baby, she can put it up for adoption, or she can abort. What she can do is keep the baby and live with me. When I told my sister about this, she was furious at me, and she said I should be thrilled to add a member to the family. I said if she's so excited, my daughter can live with her then. She scoffed, obviously, because she couldn't afford to support them either. Am I being an a-hole by putting this on my daughter? First of all, OP's standing on business, and that's where he should be standing, on a business. I feel like 20 is way too old to know better. If you as a 20-year-old adult can keep a job, don't want to keep a job, and can never keep a job, then why the hell would you lay and get pregnant? Yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section because these stories get crazier and crazier by the day. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye! Am I wrong for reacting with disgust to my boyfriend sharing an experience he had as a paramedic? Hi, I'm a 23 female dating a 33 male. I'm feeling super conflicted right now after my boyfriend just shared a story with me about an experience he had while working as a paramedic. Basically, he told me this with the preface that it was a funny but extremely messed up story. He has a twisted sense of humor and his partner at work does too, but I felt this was too far. On to the story. He arrived on a scene of a 25-year-old dead girl who had drowned, and part of his job is to pronounce people dead and obtain a time of death. His partner and he unzipped the mesh bag that her body was in, and his partner said, "Turn her over, I want to see that ass. Did you see the way her back was arched when she was laying flat?" My boyfriend proceeded to flip her over to see her ass. She wasn't naked but wearing a bikini, and then flipped her back and put her back in the bag. The police officers on the scene looked at them in disgust. My boyfriend expected me to laugh, but I think this is too far and violative and frankly a little gross. He says it's not that serious and regrets sharing it with me. Am I the a-hole? Oh my god, that's disgusting. There was a story I think I read a couple months ago on here of a woman who said that when her husband used to work at a morgue, he was violating the dead women that were in the morgue. Like, I don't want to say exactly what he was doing because I don't want to get, but yeah, he was violating the dead corpse. And I don't understand. That is so disgusting. If a man is capable of doing this, he's also capable of doing that. I also heard there's a reason like why morgues and places like that don't wanna hire men, because they tend to do nasty and disgusting stuff like this. OP should run away as fast as she can, and she should never look back. That's what she should do. That is disgusting. The fact that he's trying to gaslight her, he's trying to normalize his nasty behavior so he can do more of it and then get away with it. Am I wrong for making my ex leave my house after he came to visit our son a few days after Christmas? Me, 27 female, and my ex, 33 male, broke up 4 years ago. For Christmas, he wasn't able to come visit our son, 6 male, because he went out of state to visit his girlfriend's family, but he made the time to come visit him. When he got back from his trip to see all the gifts he got, help him set everything up, which is fine. I got my son a used iPhone 8 for Christmas because it's what I could afford, and my son was happy and very appreciative of his new phone like any 6-year-old would be. But when my ex saw the phone, he got upset and started yelling and braiding me for getting him an iPhone 8 instead of something more exclusive like an iPhone 12, 14. Mind you, this man didn't spend $1 on Christmas gifts for my son, despite having a good job and working there for 4 years. So I told him to stop yelling at me in front of our son firstly, and second, I paid for the phone and our son likes it. He's only 6, he doesn't need an iPhone 14, but he wasn't trying to hear it. He kept yelling and eventually said, I'm going to buy him a better phone and keep it at my house because you're a cheap B-word. And before I could even respond, my son, who was watching everything, took the phone and threw it and said, yeah, this phone sucks. That set me off. My son loved his new phone until his dad came in here and started yelling about it being a bad, cheap phone. So I told him to leave, but he refused to leave. And still yelling, he told me I can't deny him seeing his son since he couldn't see him for Christmas. I threatened to call the police if he didn't leave. He proceeded to call me more terrible names in front of our son before he left. Since his mom and girlfriend started texting me, calling me names, and accused me of being jealous and bitter for kicking him out when he only wanted to see his son. But I haven't responded to them. After my ex left, my son was upset because he loved spending time with his dad and hated to see him go. But wouldn't you know, he picked his phone up and started playing Roblox with his cousins and hasn't complained about the phone since. Although I did feel bad for my son when he was crying about his dad leaving, I think I did the right thing by making him leave because he was being just disrespectfully by yelling, belittling me, and calling me names in front of our son. But my son really didn't want him to leave. Am I the a-hole? She's definitely not the a-hole. If he wants to spend time with his son, he can take him to his house. You can't just come in someone's house and disrespect them. And I'm so confused as to why a 6-year-old child even needs a phone to begin with. Maybe a tablet, a little small tablet, but a phone? That's crazy. Am I the a-hole if I bring my son to meet his grandmother? I, 29 female, have a son, 10, named Ryan. I have been with my husband, Jason, 36, for 6 years, and he's the only father Ryan knows. Ryan has never met his biological father. I told him about Ryan, and he didn't believe me at the time, and I did everything in my power to protect Ryan from feeling rejected, but I always was honest with Ryan and said if he ever wanted help finding them, I'd help him. Ryan has been asking lately about his biological father and his family. I've been answering as best as I can, and he wants to meet his biological grandparents. I have been thinking about it for a few months, and I understand why he would want that. I didn't tell Jason because he's really sensitive about the topic. I dropped off Ryan on a play date with a friend who lives in the same town his biological father's parents lived in. I decided the worst case scenario would be them telling me they don't want to meet him, but I had to try, and by Ryan not being there, I could still protect him from potential rejection. Or the other worst case scenario would be that they moved and I didn't know where they moved. I went to the house and knocked on the door. My ex's mom answered and she was surprised. I asked if I could come inside and talk to her. I told her about Ryan and that he's been asking about them. She was certainly shocked and asked to see pictures. I told her she didn't have to make a decision right away, and if she wanted to talk to her son first, I understood, and gave her my number if she ever wanted to reach out. That was a month ago, so I assumed she didn't. I received a phone call on Christmas that after a lot of thought, her and her husband went to meet Ryan when he was ready. At this point, I told Jason and it became a huge fight. Today we thought Ryan was playing outside and had another argument about the situation. Jason said I had no excuse to go behind his back when he's Ryan's father, and I yelled back that he can't take away Ryan's biological father's parents if he wants to meet them or he'll resent us. Ryan must have come inside the house and we didn't hear him. So he heard Jason say it would never happen and that he'd divorce me if I did it. Ryan immediately started crying and ran to his room. I told Jason I needed space and brought Ryan to my parents' house. His family is saying I am the a-hole since Jason is his father and my family has pretty split opinions. I just want to do what's best for Ryan, and he shouldn't feel guilty for ruining that relationship. Him not having that was our choice, not his. So am I the a-hole? Edit. It won't allow me to comment, so I'll answer questions here. I saw someone comment about the bio dad not being in his life for a reason. It was just as simple as we were young. He didn't believe me. I didn't push after Ryan was born and never went after him for child support. He assumed whether it either wasn't his kid or never bothered to find out if I gave birth. I don't know which. The grandparents never knew. I thought it was his place to tell them, not mine, until Ryan wanted to know. Honestly, OP should do what's best for her son because when it comes to kids, I'm willing to die on the hill that kids always need their dad and their mom, as long as the parents are good, obviously. And if Jason loved his stepson like he says he loved him, I'm pretty sure he should. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to want that for his stepson to find his biological dad, for his stepson to have a good relationship with his biological grandparents. Why would you step in between that? Clearly, the son is yearning for that side of the family. Obviously, children always want their biological family more than other people, and it's not a dig at him. It's just how I think human beings are created. Everybody wants a connection with their mom and their dad. Everybody wants connections with their grandparents and from both their mom and their dad. Like, that's not a dig at him. If the child is if the child gets what he wants, then he gets what he wants. If he doesn't, then he'll still play the daddy role like he always did, you know? It's not a competition. This is a child's well-being and life at the end of the day. Am I the a-hole for saying I'm not going to my sister's wedding? I, female 23, have been struggling with mental health for years now. I find it hard to get out of bed in the morning and live like a normal person. I also have a horrible anxiety about talking to people. My sister, female 29, is getting married in May of 2024. I could not be more happy for her. She has worked so hard and deserves nothing but the best. Here's where the tough part starts. She wants me to be her maid of honor. I told her because of my mental health, I wouldn't be able to fulfill her request. I told her that being around so many people would freak me out and I'd probably have a panic attack. She said it was fine, but was clearly hurt. I thought it would be all over, but her fiance, male 48, texted me telling me I was a horrible person for rejecting my sister's request. He told me to put down the act for one night and let your sister enjoy herself. I blocked him and told my sister what he said. She said he was right and that it was selfish of me not to be her maid of honor when her wedding is so soon. I told her that if she thought that, I wouldn't go to the wedding at all. Now my whole family is torn and my parents are angry with me. Am I the a-hole? Am I wrong for telling my daughter-in-law she eats much more than me, so of course she is bigger? I'm so tired. My son and my daughter-in-law are staying with me to save money. I cook and we have a serve yourself policy. The thing is, she will eat a lot more than me. For example, I made chicken. I would only eat one chicken breast. She would have three. Basically, she eats a lot more than me, and I don't substitute for lower calorie stuff. I'm now going to use skim milk instead of cream, for example. She is overweight and has been going on about how it doesn't make sense that I am much smaller. I asked if she was joking and she confirmed that she didn't understand why she is gaining weight. I told her that she eats a lot more than me, so of course she is bigger. This started an argument about how I am shaming her and not being a good host. My son wants me to apologize, but I find it ridiculous and this is common sense. I mean, you ask somebody for their opinion and they tell you that you can't really get mad at it, you know?